let's go ahead and launch Premiere. We'll get this ball rolling. We're going to go till probably about 7:30-ish working on this. I will actually do the entire project. If you don't keep up with me perfectly, don't worry. I'm just going to kind of keep going. Some of you will probably be able to move a little quicker through this. That's fine. So let's go into Premiere, right? Here we go. All right. So we're in the welcome page, right? Which we've seen. We're going to create a new project. Okay. Right. And so instead of exercise, we're actually going to name this, and we're going to follow this same naming convention pretty much throughout the semester. Okay. So generally what we'll call our projects, you'll use your first initial, last name, right? And I'm a big underscore person. I'm going to do an underscore, and you can just put P1 for project one. Okay. And then underscore spring 2024, or spring 2024. Okay. Even though we're remote, you're not sharing, you're not in the lab, and you don't have to worry as much about, protecting your media, because, some people come in and unfortunately, unexpectedly delete stuff. So it's always good to name your project and identify, what semester you're in, what class. We don't have to go beyond this. This is Monday night, Monday PM. Normally I would do this, but we don't have to worry about this since this is spring 24. So again, first initial, last name, do an underscore P1, since it's project one, underscore spring 2024. Okay. So when we do project two, it'll be the same thing. It'll just be project two, project three, project four, etc. Okay. So that's the basic naming convention. You can use caps, whatever you want. I'm fine. And then your project location, right? We've been talking about this. So you're going to click the drop down and navigate to wherever it is that you've created those folders, right? So I'm going to have to go find that. I'm going to go all the way back to my spring 2024 main folder. And there it is. There's my project one folder. So I'm going to double click there to get to the subfolders. And then I'm going to select project files, because this is your project file. Remember last week we looked at the difference between a project file and the media that's actually in it, right? The media can be, multiple megabytes and gigs, but your project file will be very small because it doesn't actually house the media, right? So this is where your project file will go. Just select that folder and highlight it, and then hit select folder. Okay. And when we say create, it will create that project in that folder, right? So we're going to come down here to the right, lower right, create new project, the blue button, right? We've been doing this for that first 2 weeks. There we go. And this is asking me a question. Some of you may be getting this. Backup to Creative Cloud not supported, which is not a big deal. Creative Cloud sync files has been discontinued. Yeah, I think this is an evolution. The option to back up project Creative Cloud is no longer supported. That's fine. We don't care right now. We're just going to save it. Just hit OK, because this is saving to your local. But in the past, you could also back up this file on your Creative Cloud account, on the server, on the cloud. So anyway, so here we are, right? So we're in the project. So I'm in this window, and remember how we created some windows, because I probably worked in here over the week, and so I've got this extra panel. Don't worry if you don't have this essential graphics panel, workspace. Let me see, go back into here. Yeah, I'm just going to close this. Okay, so hopefully you created your workspace, because for project one, it'd be good to be working with the same look. If you are not, but you're comfortable with it, that's fine. It doesn't have to look exactly like mine, but you want to make sure you have the following: a project panel, which will also display your name, the name of the project that you just created. You need a source panel and a program panel and a timeline panel. And then you'll also You should see a audio meters thing. That's not critical right now. If you don't have it and it's gonna, don't worry if you have to go hunt for it. This is just ambient sound. And then this is good to have, although we're not going to use too much of this. This is the tools palette. Okay. But as hopefully if you did some of your reading, your core 4 panels are going to be project, source, program, timeline. These will always be in whatever workspace you have just about. So before we do anything, obviously, we're going to have to import our media, right? Okay, so go ahead and however you want to do it. If you want to double click inside your project panel, and if you're seeing effects or text or any of this, I'm just going to close this, right? Remember, you can always click on uh, this little these little lines and it gives you options. Um, I'm going to leave that there, but remember, these are stacked together. They're docked together, as they say, DOCK, right? So you just want to be in projects. If you've got effects, that's fine. Just go back to projects. We'll add some of the effects next week. Okay. All right. So double click in import media down here in the center of the panel, and you're going to get this navigation window, right? And so now you want to navigate to that project one folder where you have those clips, right? So I had to go back. I'm going to go into project one, and there's my video clips. And you can just bring in each folder, right? Now, if you extract these already had on my computer, so I'm not sure if yours are going to look identical to these once you extract them, but you should have 2 folders, right? So just click on one folder, import folder. And actually, I think I could have done 2, but I'm just going to do one at a time. It's going to take a second because it's not, because the folder, of course, has those video clips, right? So there's your first folder, and you can adjust these little columns here, right? It's kind of hard to see, but there's a little ridge, a little area that you can grab and expand those columns. Think of this as kind of like a spreadsheet, right? Okay, so click again, even though it doesn't say import media, you can double click in that window and go to batch 2, right? And then import folder, right? Give that a minute. Sometimes it takes a little longer. One folder might be a little bigger than the other. Yeah, so this one probably has a few more extra clips. Or Comcast is throttling my bandwidth. And you might see something in the lower right-hand corner down here, generating peak file. This is sort of like processing some of the audio. Okay, give that a second. It takes a minute. And then if you expand those folders, you can see a bunch of those clips inside. Okay, and they all have names, and those names will correlate to the script that I sent you. Okay, project 1, right? And you're going to see a lot of these purple in green, which means it's a video clip and audio. And then if you see something like this that's just green, that's only audio because that's the music. It's kind of it's music I edited to match this project, right? So check your batch 2, right? You should have a whole bunch of other clips and they all have names. Okay. Once you do that, do a Control S or a Command S for the Macs folks so you can save, right? And I recommend you save a lot. Okay. You know, for all the years I've been editing in computers and nonlinear, like every other keystroke literally is a Control S or a Command S. I just save as you're working because you never know, something could happen. Your computer doesn't like something that you did, it can't process it, and it can just go blink and your project closes. And if we're not doing anything too complicated here, but as we get in other projects and you're doing like a bunch of effects and you've got a lot of work going on, you don't want to lose that work. That's very frustrating. Okay. All right. We making sense okay so far? Everybody able to get those in to the project panel?
Yeah, Professor, but my looks different is my Premiere Pro.
Your interface?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me what you have. Let
Uh,
me ask you this. Do you have a project panel?
ca- uh, can I share my screen?
Yeah, hang on. Let me do this. Let me go back. Okay, where are you? There you are. Hang on. Let's try this here. I think I make you go. Okay, so I'll give you that option and then you just have to, you know how to get out of that too, right? Correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. So co-host for now. Yes, there you go. Okay, so go ahead and share your screen and let me see what you have.
So,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. You're not too far off. Okay, I see what you got here. Okay. So you basically have the same windows
Mm-hmm.
um that I have. You're
So,
no, so
I
your
can
project
I
you're
can
the
work
only
with that, right?
yeah, you're fine with what you have if you can,
Okay.
your project panel is just down here as opposed to the left of the source.
Yeah, yeah.
So what I would
But
do
it's
is
fine, right?
yeah, you're fine with what you have. You have the necessary windows.
Okay.
So so here where you see where the program and the source connect, you can adjust this and make the source a little bigger. You could slide this over right here.
This one?
Yeah,
Source.
click on source. So now that's the forefront, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then
Yeah.
you see in between that and the program, hover your mouse right in between there. You
Mm-hmm.
see that line? Boom,
Yeah.
drag to the right. There you go. So
Okay.
you can resize that a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
And now you've got a bunch of other panels here. If they don't
Yeah.
bother you, just ignore them. And you're only going to work with source, program, down here on the left, project, and the timeline.
Okay.
Okay, that's all we're really working with today.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
okay,
I'm going to stop now.
gotcha. Yeah, I can think and actually get you out of there. Okay, very good. Any other questions? Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and keep going. Let me get my script. Okay, and here's what we're going to do. Hang on a second. Let me stop sharing that. Let me actually find this thing. So make sure you have your script handy. Uh, it's not there. So here, okay, here it is. Here it is, project one. Okay, so I'm going to keep this up. All right. So we're going to go into our script. Right. So first thing we're going to do is going to find this clip, keys one. This is actually the first three edits here are basically what we did last week, right? But then you can see that if you scroll down, those are the first three clips. We have a total of 31 clips. Okay, and this is a very basic sequence of me coming down, getting my keys, getting in my car, and driving down the road. Okay. So first clip we want is keys one. Okay. And this is your time code. So watch me. And basically, you're going to do the same thing for each clip. You're going to find them, mark these in and outs, and drop them in, right? And we're going to use the same technique we used last week that we started using last week. All right. So,
Professor,
mhm,
quick question.
yeah.
Okay, so I didn't realize. So this is a continuation of last week's project,
No, no.
not a new
Well,
one.
it is, but we're starting it new. We're starting it fresh.
Okay, I just want to make sure I because I left that one how it was, and then I opened a new file
Yes,
project to
yes,
have this in. So that's good. Okay, I
yes,
just want
yeah.
to make
That's
sure
what
I
we're.
was not to move it. Okay.
Yeah, that's what we did a second ago. Actually, I need to send this to myself as well. Hang on one
Yeah,
second.
I just want to double check. I'm like, I thought we just opened a new one.
Right,
Okay.
right, right. Yeah, no, we did.
First.
Yes, yes. But
Okay.
this project also has the first same three clips that we had
Got
last
it.
week. All
Okay.
right, so hang on one second. I just have to do something that I forgot to do earlier. Okay, let me go ahead and grab this before I forget. Okay, there it is. Lead everybody into this. Then, okay. So email. Did I not? No, didn't. Okay, there you go. Okay. All right, there we go. All right, so here we go. Now we're gonna do. So we're gonna pull up that first clip and open it in our source panel. You can double click on it or you can drag it in there. Okay. There we go. Okay, got it. Okay. All right, now we're ready. Okay, so the first clip is keys 1. Okay. Let me go ahead and, oops, I'm in the wrong window again. Right, there we go. Right, so it's keys 1. Right, keys 1 right there. Gonna go into Premiere. And that is in, it's actually in that second batch, right? So again, remember, you can collapse and expand these folders, right? But you can expand all of them, but then you have to scroll down, okay? Here's some other navigational tips. You can actually keep these closed and you can actually use this little search window, okay? So for example, keys, if you type in keys, it's going to show you anything that says keys. And look, there's keys 1 right there. So that's another way that you can search without having to open up your folders and, you know, scroll through all of these clips, right? So I'm going to just leave that there. I'm going to grab keys 1, right? And I'm going to drag this over to the source, right? You could have also, let me just drag a different one for a minute. Go back to keys 1. I can double click. So you can double click and you can drag it over into the source, right? And remember, we talked about the source window being the window where we only look panel, only we only look at one clip at a time. Okay. Now here's the important thing. Once you find your clip, you want to X out of that search criteria because otherwise it will lock you into that. See, so now you can expand and look for anything you want. You could type in the next one. All right, but let's work with our first clip. So this is keys 1. And when we look at the time code, right? So we're looking at a script here. The endpoint is 1328. Can anybody tell me what that represents? What value? What kind of duration does that represent? Go ahead and shout it out.
Seconds and frames.
Seconds and frames. So how many seconds?
13 seconds, 28 frame.
28 frames. There you go. And when will that turn over to 14 seconds? How many frames will we see? Anybody remember? Remember we talked about we're dealing this video is actually 30 frames per second. So it will go to 29 and then instead of showing 1330 it will turn to 14, right? That's the 30 frames, the beginning of the next second, right? Anyway, okay, so let's bring that in. Hang on, let me stay in Premiere. All right. All right. So our endpoint there is going to be 1328, right? And so last week we learned that, you know, we can scroll through here. Remember, this is your time code. And this is your playhead, this blue little knob. This represents what you're actually looking at. The number, the value on the right represents the current in and out duration. The full, basically, since you haven't done any edits, it's representing the entire raw clip, right? 22 seconds, right? But as you move your playhead, it's going to show you what frame you're on, right? So yeah, you can drag this thing until you get to 1328. And remember, you can use your arrow keys here. You can use your arrow keys on your keyboard, right? But there's an easier way, right? Whenever you see blue text like this, that means you can type into it and enter a value, hit enter, and it applies that value. And then you mark it, right? So that's the easy way to do this. Keys 1, click on that, it'll be all highlighted, right? And you can just type whatever. Well, you don't not type whatever. You're going to type in that endpoint, which is 1328. So you type 1328. Okay, just hit enter, and it will record. Essentially, remember that value. It would position the playhead at that specific frame. Now you identify it as the mark in, right? And you can also hit I on your keyboard. So I'm just going to click here to mark in. And now you've set your in point. Now we're going to set the out point, right? Because we're coming into this and we're going to essentially snip the beginning and the end of the shot and pull it out and then drop it in our timeline. Okay, sort of like when we reference film. All right, so now your out point, right, according to the script, is 17:22. Okay, so this is going to be about a 4-second clip, right? So we're gonna essentially sort of extract 4 seconds from 22 seconds. So the majority of this we're not going to use, right? Because it was just extra footage, the camera's rolling, I'm getting in position, walking down, etc. Okay. All right. So we're going to go to 17:22 on that clip, right? And the same thing now. Now, even though you've entered this, it remembers it. You marked it, right? And you can move your playhead away from that. You still have that marker. That is right now recorded. That's like set in stone until you change it. And you can change it, but we're not doing that. Okay, so now click on that blue text, that time code, and type in 17:22, right? You don't have to type all the zeros because remember it counts from right to left. Hit enter. And now your playhead jumps to 17:22. So take a wild guess. What are you going to do? You're going to mark the out point, right? So you have an in and an out, which is also O on your keyboard, regardless if it's a PC or a Mac. Hit mark out, boom. There you go. Now you've got this little area sort of highlighted in gray with 2 little brackets around it. You can move your playhead out of the way, right? And you can see this little section that now is marked, and this also changed to reflect the edits you did. So now your in and out duration is just under 4 seconds. Okay? So that's basically what you're going to do. Now, this being the first clip, we're just going to grab it, and you're going to just drag it and click and drag and drop it down into your timeline. And when it lands in there, it's going to populate it with this display of the clip, and it's going to create a sequence, right? The timeline was just empty, but now when you start dropping clips in, it creates a sequence, which is an assortment of clips that live in the timeline. And then it also created this other item here in your project panel, which represents the sequence, right? If I hover my mouse over it, it tells me keys 1 sequence. It gives me some very quick settings. It's telling me that this is 1920 by 1080, the image dimensions, right? And it's also telling me that you see that 29.97, that's measuring the frame rate. That's round that off to 30 frames per second. Okay, so now that's in there. So while we're in here, you can go ahead and just rename that sequence. You don't have to. You can name it keys 1. I'm just going to call it sequence. Maybe like just sequence 1. Sequence 1. There you go. Boom, and it updates it down here. Okay. Now you notice we talked about this last week. You've got 3 video tracks here. You've got 3 audio tracks. For the Photoshop folks, this is just like layers. If you've ever looked at any graphic design stuff in Premiere, it's all very similar. Okay. But for display purposes, let's make these tracks a little taller. Okay. They won't affect any material length or anything you've done. It will just adjust the display. Since we're not going to have more than 1 layer on this part of the project. So I'm going to drag these little rings on the right and just kind of pull that down so I can make that video track a little taller, and you can do the same thing down here on the audio. Okay. Right. It just makes it easier to see what you're doing. See? And so now you can come down here and click the playhead, and you see it now here in the project, in the program panel, and there's the shot, and it ends. Right? So there's our first shot. That's exactly what we did last week. Okay. And if you, for some reason, you think you marked the wrong time code, if you want to double check, you have these little pointers right here. Go to in, go to out. So this will basically send or snap your playhead, this thing. It will send it to the in point you marked, and it will send it to the out point so you can double check those numbers. So, God, did I mark that in point at whatever, 1328? Regardless of where it is, you tell it to go there. Go to in. Boom. There it goes. It jumped to the in point, and there you can verify, yes, I got the right time code. Let me double check my out point. Go to out. Yep, 1722. That's what the script says. Okay, boom. So there you go. So you got it and you dropped it in, so you're good. Okay. All right. So, and you notice I just did another save. So now let me pull up, hang on, I'm going to pull up the these things right here. Okay. PC, let's open that up. Let's keep that handy. Apple keyboard, right? Let's keep those guys handy. All right, got lots of screens open here, right? So now we're going to use, I'll go first to the PC keyboard, okay? Right, here's your PC keyboard, and we're going to use these page up arrows, okay? Page up and home arrows. I'll get yours should be labeled similarly, and then you've got uh, the number keypad on the right, the numeric keypad. This is where we're punching in our time code. And if your computer's like mine, if you don't have the number link button selected, it won't do it. So you might have to hit that so you get the numbers. Otherwise, it gives you like the home and end keys. Anyway, so know your keyboard, okay? And then on the Mac, very similar, really not that different. You've got the same arrow keys right down here where it says previous edit, next edit. And this applies, the PC keyboard's not marked with all these notes, but it's the same thing. So that upper arrow will send your playhead back to the previous edit. This will send it to the next edit. This adjusts frame by frame, and that works in the source panel as well. All right, so let's go ahead now. Now what we want to do is, let's go back into Premiere. So now we want to position this playhead at the very end of this clip. You can do it manually, but that's pretty hard, okay? But before you do that, make sure this little magnet is selected blue. It should be, unless you deselected it, because if you accidentally click on it, it will turn gray, right? You want to turn that on, make sure it's blue. And when you hover over that, that's called the snap in the timeline. That gives you this ability to use those arrow keys and send that arrow, that playhead, right to those edits, right? So here's what we're going to do next. And this is what we're going to do, and then rinse and repeat. So here's my playhead. I want that to sit at the very end of this playhead. So I'm going to hit that page up key, okay, and actually deselect the clip, right? So you can, when this is white, it's selected, just click away in the blank area of the timeline to release that, and then hit your page up. Oh, I'm sorry, page down. Actually, you can have it selected. That's fine. Hit your page down, and you see how the playhead jumped right to the end of that clip. Okay. And remember, we talked about magnification, zooming. Okay, I'm going to hit my plus key on my keyboard. All right. Let's go with Mac first. Here's your plus key right here. It says zoom in, but it's the plus key right next to the delete. Again, this is the keyboard that we have in the lab. Yours might be a little different, but they're pretty much uniformly, right? So this is the plus. I think it's actually like the M dash or something, but hit that and it would magnify. On the PC, you hit this one. There it is. There's the plus. It's technically the equal signs, but you don't have to hit a modifier key. You don't have to hit like shift or anything. Just hit plus, and that will magnify to where that playhead sits. Watch. Okay, so I'm going to hit my plus key. First off, yep, I'm in the timeline. I want to make sure my timeline's active. I'm going to hit that plus key, right, on my keyboard, and you see how I can magnify that section. Again, not doing any material change. I'm just literally like putting a magnifier to it. And if I hit the key next to it, the minus key, it demagnifies. You see? Okay. Right? So there you go. So that way, it should look like this. If you want to double check, that playhead should be sitting just past the very last frame, and you see this blue line showing you what it's actually looking at, which is the next frame, which is actually black. If I hit the left arrow key, it goes back and shows me the last frame of that shot, right? So I'm going to go right here. Okay. Now I can demagnify, and now I'm going to go to my next shot. Okay, which is in the script, which is pretty much what we did last week, except we didn't have a script. So our next shot is keys 2. How exciting is that? All right, so we're going to find keys 2. Okay, keys 2, which is, I think is also here. I'm just going to open up the folder. There it is, keys 2. I'm going to double click on it here in the project panel, and it opens up here. Remember this? This is the reversal. We call this a reversal. It's a reverse shot pointing now. I've come in and I've already grabbed the keys and I'm going to the door. Right? Right? And so this keeps rolling because I have to come back in and turn the camera on. Right? So we don't need all of this stuff. Right? All right. So our time code here is 804. It's a little different. It's only 3 numerals now. Right? Let's go here. 804. So again, same thing. You don't have to type in the 0804. You can. It'll still figure it out because it counts right to left. So let's 804. The out is 1124. Okay. So I'm going to go in. Boom, boom. 804. I'm going to click on the hot text field, the blue time code, and I'm going to just type in 804, literally 804. Hit enter on your numeric keypad. And actually, I think you can hit, yeah, you can hit enter on your main keyboard too. It should work. Okay, and it will go to 804. Mark it. And there you go. Right? And when you do that, you also should see this little icon pop up right here in this little area below your picture. All right. Now we're going to do the out, right? The out is 1124. 1124. Okay. I'm going to hit enter. The playhead jumps to that time code and you mark it. Right? So once you mark it, you've confirmed that that's what you want. Until you mark it, the playhead goes there, but you haven't actually set that point. Right? And so you can see now, I don't know how long this was before. It was probably about the same thing, probably a good 20 seconds or so, but now it's, again, a little shorter than 4 seconds, right? So you can see these are pretty quick shots, okay? So now you've got that marked. You've got the playhead in position here after your first clip. Now you're going to go and use the insert button. You could also use this, but let's stick with insert for a minute, okay? And what that's going to do is it's just going to drop it in and butt it up right against your first clip, all in one click, which is nice. Watch. Boom. It drops it in, and then your playhead jumps to the end of the second clip. So it does like 3 things for you just by clicking that one button, right? Because if you did it manually, I'm going to undo. You don't have to, right? You could technically not even have that in place. You could grab this down here, right? And then you could slide it over, but you have to be careful, right? Because you're going to butt it up to the other clip. And because you have this snap thing turned on, it gives you a little resistance. But if you're not used to it, you could easily push too far and go over the other clip and cut off the end of it, right? So that's too much work. And then, yeah, you can grab this, come over here and hit page down and reposition it, but that's a lot of work, right? So I'm going to undo all that, right? I'm going to position my playhead there. I've marked this in and out. I was just repeating that. You didn't have to do that. I was just showing you that other option, and hit insert because it's just so quick. Okay. So this is what we're basically going to do through all of those clips. Okay. So now we've got our second clip in. We've got our playhead repositioned. Don't have to do anything more for that. Go ahead and hit Command S, Control S, save. And now pull up the next clip, which is, I believe, walkout, because I pretty much got this memorized at this point. So your next shot is walkout, right? And there's your in point, there's your out point. Okay, so let's go to walkout. And I'm not sure where walkout is. So if I want, let me just go up here and just type in walk. And if there's a couple shots, right? Walk into frame, walkout. There it is. There's walkout. Double click it. There it is. And there's that exterior shot. This was the last shot we did last week. And this is where, again, you can grab your playhead and kind of check it out, preview it, right? This is called scrubbing, right? You're just sort of like, it's kind of like fast forwarding back in the old videotape days, right? All right. And so the endpoint here is 3013. It's just as I'm coming out the door, right? So it's pretty late in the clip. You can see this is a 42-second clip. We're only going to use like, 3 or 4 seconds of it, right? So I'm in the ballpark, doesn't matter. Type in 3013. Enter. Boom, your playhead goes to that exact frame. Remember, we're being frame accurate within a 30th of a second. Mark your endpoint or hit I on your keyboard. I'm going to hit I on my keyboard. Tired of clicking this thing, right? Espresso's kicking in. So I marked it. I'm marked in at 3013. My out point now is 3428. Okay, so my endpoint is marked. Click on the time code 3428. Enter. The playhead jumps to that specific frame. Mark your out. I'm going to hit O and mark out. A little over 4 seconds, 4.5 seconds, this clip. Okay. Now go ahead and insert. And that will drop right here, right behind the second clip. And the playhead will also reposition itself at the end of this clip, right? So hit insert, right? Now, depending on how zoomed in or zoomed out your timeline is, you may see the other 3 clips. You may only see this clip. I was a little bit zoomed in. So when it dropped it in, it made room for it. Those other 2 clips are still back here, okay? If you want to see them, you can click in here and hit your minus key. And you can see, oh, they're all there. That's great. And wherever your playhead is, when you zoom, it will always keep your playhead in the center of the screen. Okay, so even if I have my playhead over here, when I magnify, it keeps that playhead in the center. So the playhead is kind of like the magnet, right? It's kind of like where it references that magnification. All right, so I've got 3 clips so far. And if you wanted to double check if you're doing them right, I can tell you right now, and you can check this. Usually we check this after the first page, but you can check after a few clips right now. This is your current duration over here on the left. Under sequence, it says 12:02 because the playhead is sitting at the end of the 3rd clip. So right now, all my clips combined total about actually exactly 12 seconds and 2 frames, right? Which makes sense. The first 2 was a little bit shorter than 4. The 3rd one was a little bit longer than 4. So we're probably averaging about 4 seconds. Okay. So that's how you can also gauge. And I will do this as we go through this project so people can reference, okay, I've got, 10 clips in, it should be however many seconds, right? If you're marking your in and out points correctly. Okay. Is this making sense, everybody? This is pretty much what we did last week. But now we're going to go and add the additional clips. This making sense? Right? We basically did
Yeah.
this. Okay. Just letting
Yes.
you know I have to step out for a few minutes. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see you when you get back. All right.
Professor,
Yeah. I'm sorry, Santa.
yeah. I messed up. I don't know why I cannot move my uh video from source to program.
Okay. Try this. Hang on. Let me do that last edit again. Okay. Oh, well, you don't go to program. You bring it down here, the timeline. Right. So here, let me do this last edit again. Okay. Do you have your in and out points?
Okay. Okay, I got it. I got
Yeah,
it.
you want to bring it here.
Okay,
Right.
I
The
got it now.
program, yeah, the program shows you what you're doing down here, but you drag down in the time. There's actually a way that you can drag it into the program, but we're not going to do it that way right now. Yeah. So
Okay.
you want to have your playhead positioned at the end of the last clip, right? I'm going to hit that page down key, which
Uh,
positions it there. Okay.
but this play thing, it's different for me. Like it's very small bars. I can see your bars are long, but mine is very small.
Your bars are
Oh,
long.
if you hover your mouse over the sequence and then like zoom in with your fingers on the touchpad or on your mouse, it should make it bigger. Does
Uh,
that work?
You're talking about these little notches?
yes,
I
yes.
think I
Yeah.
think you mean like how zoomed in the boxes
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
like
Zoom.
the
So
time sequence.
so click in your timeline, and wherever your playhead is, this is your playhead, this long, thin sort of needle with this little
Yes.
sort of thing at the top, right?
Okay.
When you're in, hit your plus key on your keyboard, okay? But you have to hit this one, okay? Are
Okay.
you on a PC or a Mac?
Yeah, it's expanding, but it's not going to long. I don't know what is
Yeah,
this.
you want to hit this plus key right here, okay? Right, so you go in, hang on, let's go here, right? So you go here and you magnify.
Okay. Okay. Now it's
Yeah,
good.
the distance between, you're still looking at the same units, but now they're just bigger. Like the space in between those little notches is just bigger. But this is still one frame right here,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Now
Okay.
now I fixed that. Okay.
And actually, if you wanted, here's one way you can verify. Just click on your little playhead and hit your arrow key to the right. And
Mm-hmm.
as the arrow key moves, right? See, as I'm clicking, going frame by frame,
Mm-hmm.
and when you look over here on the left, you can see this moving frame by frame. It's counting. See, 22, 23, 24, 25. And that says 7 seconds, uh, uh, whatever it says here, 7:07:25. Okay. Oh, right, because I lost the last clip. So I was like, why am I only at 7 seconds? Right. So this ends here at 7. See, so that's just counting your frames.
Okay.
All of this panel, this panel, this panel, they're all looking at the same measurement.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So now
Yeah.
I'm going to put back that third clip, right? And see, you can always do it. If using the arrow keys is giving you a hard time, just magnify all the way. Bring your playhead over here. And also, by the way, I know I mentioned this earlier. When you click along this ruler, okay, this is known as the ruler, right? The time code. The playhead will follow you. It will come to your mouse, right? So you don't have to always grab it and drag it. If you want it to come right here, click. It'll come. It'll come right to you, whether there's a clip there or not. Okay, but if you click up here, it won't. If you click down here, it won't. You got to be pretty much, there's a little decent margin of error. You just click and it follows you. You see that?
Yeah.
So this is a very nice navigational thing. And it's really not that hard to position it there if you're magnified, but if you're like this, it's going to be a little trickier because you don't see that it's kind of like you're looking at a diamond, you're trying to cut it with a big knife. When you go in, you can really see the detail and it's just easier to move,
Thank
right?
you.
All right. So these are all different ways to position the playhead. The best way, obviously, is, if you're somewhere in the middle of the clip, just hit page up. And if you're over here, you can hit page down and it goes back to that end of that cut. So what we're doing here, by the way, these are just straight cuts, CUT, right? And that is the most basic um, type of transition. Okay, we're going to get into a lot different types of transitions, dissolves and wipes and all these things that fly around and give you some interesting transitions from one shot to the other. But the most basic is the cut. It's just one shot ends, one shot begins. Okay. If not only after class, I'm trying to keep the batch 1 and 2 folders intact. Each folder to the folder created on my computer desktop. I'm having. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Hang on a minute here. I'm getting. Oh, yes, yes. Okay. Okay. All right. So, okay. So let's keep going here. let's move on beyond these first three clips. Okay, so now I'm going to save. My playhead is at the end of. Oh, I still got to end. I took this out. I'm going to drop this back in. This walkout. Boom. All right. So there I am. Walkout. I dropped it in. The playhead repositioned itself. Okay. I'm going to hit the minus key for a minute, but I have to select the timeline first and bring it back so I can have a little bit of room here. So when I drop my next clip, I'll see it fall in. Okay. All right. So the next shot is, according to our script, is going to be, well, we've done these first three, and now we've done walk into frame. Okay. So this is kind of a reversal shot of me walking out. Now it's from the perspective of the car. Okay. All right. This is walk into frame, which actually will probably show up because when we did walk, look, there it is. It's right there. Right. When I search for walk, right? Otherwise, it's going to be in, yeah, it's in this second batch, but I had to kind of look for it. That's fine. So I'm going to double click it and it opens in my source. Okay, so I'm going to scrub through it for a minute. So this is me continuing out the door, right? I've come out the door. Now I'm heading to the car and you can see that I go, the shot, I record it. I will, because I have to, because I can't turn the camera off. I continue my action all the way to the point where I open the door and get in the car and close the door, right? Now we're going to do more edits before I even get in the car, right? But I overlap it when I shoot it. And this is actually a little bit of a freebie production tip, right? When you're shooting action, you overlap the action when you shoot it. That way, when you change angles, you overlap it again, and it gives you some flexibility as to where you can make the edit. Okay, I'll leave it at that. If you've ever shot stuff like this, you hopefully know what I'm talking about. Okay, so our endpoint here, this is walk into frame is going to be 16. It's just as I enter the frame, literally as I'm walking in. So it's going to be 16:06. 16:06. Okay. I know some of you may be flip-flopping back and forth from your computer, from Premiere to the script. If you can email it to yourself, like on an iPad or even on a phone, that can help you out. Okay. So enter. I'm going to hit enter. The playhead's there. It is. So the first frame is my foot just coming into the frame. And you could even be off a frame or two here, you know, if you want to go earlier without my foot, that's fine. Mark in. The out point here on this one is 18:02. So it's only about a 2-second shot, right? So I've marked my in. That's good. Click again on the time code, 18:02. 18:02. I'm going to hit enter. Boom. And it's going to go, and you can see that I'm only taking it this far, right? I haven't even touched the car yet. I'm about to get to the car. So I'm going to mark out. So this is not even 2 seconds, barely 2 seconds. Okay, here's a 2-second shot. My playhead is at the end of the third clip. This is my fourth clip. Very good. I will hit insert. Drop it in. Okay, playhead moves forward. Okay, let's do one more clip and then we'll go back and kind of play back these first 5 clips. Okay, again, Control S, Command S, save what you got. Next clip is called Low Back Volvo. Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. So low back Volvo, that's my 5th clip. Okay, and this is the endpoint is going to be 28:19 and the out point is 30:20. Okay, I made this simple when I shot this and recorded everything. I had everything just start at 0, so it was just you didn't have a whole bunch of other numerals. That's not always going to be the case when you shoot with cameras, but I'll leave it at that. Okay, low back Volvo. So that's my next shot. Go in, low back Volvo. Okay, you know what? I don't know where it is. I'm going to go up here to the search window because I'm lazy. Low back. Look at that. It's the only one with low. Low back Volvo. That's my next shot. Double click. right? And again, just like I mentioned a second ago, right? So this is the reverse angle of me coming out of the house and approaching the car. You can see that I'm taking the action, I'm recording the action from all the way there. You see I'm setting the camera and now I'm going back in the house. Okay, I'm actually, yeah, I'm not quite coming out the door, but I'm already on the sidewalk because I know that my previous edit was somewhere right around here as I approached the car. It looks like I didn't like the way I was walking. So I went even further, right? So there's a little overlap there, right? So now I'm coming to the car. I open the door, get in and shut the door again. And then get back out because I knew that was a good take. All right. So again, more overlap. Now my endpoint here is 2819. Okay, so it's going to be 2819, enter, and it's just as I'm about to approach the car. I'm going to mark the in, 2819. And my out is going to be 3020. My out is going to be 3020. Okay, so here it is, right? My out is 3020. Okay, let's come in here. Boom, boom. All right, so I'm going to I've set my endpoint, right? Marking in, hitting I. I'm going to click on the time code and reset my out or set my out 3020. Boom, right? It jumps to that point, mark out. Again, pretty short shot, 2 seconds. And you can see I'm editing on at the point where I'm even just grabbing the door. Okay? Right? So I'm going to drop it in. All right. Actually, let's do one more shot. Okay, so that's the first 5 clips. And if your playhead is sitting on the end of the 5th clip, you should be at 16 seconds and a frame. If you're off by a couple frames, don't sweat it. Right? There's a little bit of play here where it's not going to make a huge deal. Okay? We do want to be as accurate as possible because these are straight cuts. And so this action is trying to match from different angles. Okay? So now let's go one more and then we'll kind of step back and take a look at what we have here. All right? So that was the 5th clip. 6th clip, enter Volvo. Right? Always reminds me of enter Sandman. Okay? Enter Volvo 4822 5105. All right, there we go. So lots of Volvo action here. This is my old car that I took, I think, to 330,000 miles. Okay. Well, it's not going to help me find it because I have low here. So let's go, let's do enter. There it is. Enter Volvo. Right? Grab it. I'm just going to drag it over this time to do it a little differently. And now this is a different shot. Now the camera's shooting through the car as I come into the car, right? And you can see I'm walking up, right? So there was a lot of overlap. I guess I did it a couple times, so maybe I like the second one, who knows? Right, and you can see I'm coming off screen. So again, more overlap. I didn't start filming right at the door, did I? I started filming way back here, right? So I could decide, where do I really want to cut this, okay? All right, my endpoint now here on enter Volvo. I guess I took the second take. Okay, it's going to be 4822. 48, right? Click in here. Remember, doesn't matter where your playhead is when you enter the endpoint. Just click on those blue texts, those blue numbers. And when it's highlighted blue, just type in what you need. 4822. Hit enter, and that commands the playhead to go to that spot. Mark in, boom. Okay, so there's my endpoint. There's my actual cut, right? On the exterior shot, I had just touched the door. Now, different angle, the hand is touching the door and I'm about to open it. See, I'm cutting at those action points. Okay, this is just very basic continuity, very basic direction, frankly, if you ever, make a film and you direct action, you have to understand these basic principles. Okay, so enter Volvo. So that's the in, the out, right? Where we're going to get out is going to be 5105. 5105. hit enter, the playhead jumps forward, mark out. Again, pretty quick shot. So this, I'm trying to create a pretty good pace for this open, right? Because it's fairly quick action, come out, grab your keys, get in the car, go, right? So by creating these shots, by selecting and having these shots be pretty short, it gives you a degree of pacing, cadence. It's a rhythm, right? I'm going to hit insert, boom. All right. And that drops it into my timeline. Okay. Now, again, you might be more magnified. So you're seeing something like this. You may be more demagnified, right? Here's another great little shortcut on your keyboard, regardless of what you're seeing. Say if I'm like kind of zoomed in like this, right? And you want to see all your clips, you want to hit your backslash key. Let me show you. This is a great little shortcut key. I tend to call it the where did I park my car key. This one right here on the PC, it's pretty much on the same spot on the Mac. It's the backslash, right? Right, we go to the Mac, pretty much on the same spot. I don't have it highlighted here, but it's right here, just between return and delete, the backslash. What that does is it does this. Regardless of where you're at, it will resize your timeline. Boom, in one click, see? And it will show you all your clips. It will give you a little bit of room on the right on your timeline, but you can see everything, right? So even if you're like super magnified, backslash, boom. If you're like super demagnified, because you can demagnify and get to this, right? So these are all, this is the exact same duration. It's at 17 seconds, but the clips are really tiny. Okay, that doesn't mean you didn't change. You're just demagnified. It's so big, so much that there's tiny. If you hit the plus key, they start getting bigger, right? But if you're like that, if you want to see them all, just hit the backslash, right? It's one key, boom. Okay, that is a great navigational tool to just like, okay, where am I? What's going on? Bam, just hit that, and you jump out. Okay. So I'm hitting you with a lot of stuff here, but you're going to have, again, time this week to keep working on this. So don't feel if you're not keeping up perfectly. Okay. Now I'm going to hit my page down to position my playhead past enter Volvo. Do a quick save. And yes, okay, including enter Volvo, right? I'm at the end of that. You see where my playhead is, and if I magnify, I can see I'm sitting right at the end of that clip, right? I'm at 18 seconds and 15 frames. So the first 6 clips, you should be right around 18 seconds and 15 frames. Okay. All right. All right. Now let's do some more clips here, because now we're going to start getting into some clips that we're going to make an edit from a clip and then make a couple more edits and then go back to that same clip and take a different section of it. Okay, so some of these clips we'll edit 2, maybe even 3 times from the same original clip, but the time code will be different, right? Because the action will be later in time. Okay, you're probably like, okay, I don't know what that means, but you'll see. Okay, so let's go in. All right, 18 seconds in, right? Whatever. Clip 6, I have just entered the car. Okay, so again, more freebie production tips. So we're gonna do now, we're gonna let's see, what's next? Enter Volvo. Okay, you notice that the next shot, let's pull it up here, is called keys insert. Okay, this is clip number 7, keys insert. So this is literally called an insert shot. Okay, because yeah, we'll get to that in a second. So let's go back to the shot that I just laid in, right? But let's look at it here in the source, right? So we marked in and out, but if you keep playing this clip, you see I put the keys in the ignition, right? Put the brake down, and then I actually Yeah, I'm putting on my seatbelt, all that stuff, and then I pull out, right? So I do that whole action all the way through. But if I had kept that shot there, it would have been like a 5-second shot. But I want to break up this action, okay? Right? So just as I'm about to put the key in, I'm going to go to a close-up shot, okay? So this is an example of kind of like what they would call sort of a master shot, and then they do an insert shot. So you shoot the action all the way through, okay? I'm putting the key in, break, pulling out. But we're going to break up all of that action. There's going to be like 3 shots before I even pull out, okay? Right? So this is how we make that action move a little quicker. We sort of like compress time a little bit, okay? All right. And let's go back. Okay, so the next shot is keys insert, which is clip number 7. Okay, let's just do this. I'm just going to go keys. I can just do keys and it'll show up. There it is, keys insert. I guess it's in batch 2, keys insert, right? So this is like a great little search tool. It's like your little Google Chrome right in your project panel, right? Double click, keys insert. And you can see this is a close-up of ignition and my key coming in. Just play it for a minute, right? Right. Yeah, because I had to like get in the car. So I'm replicating the same type of action, and I'm turning in the key and I pull my hand out, right? And that's it. That's all I had to do because I'm gonna go and edit that little section. All right. So this is an insert shot, only the close-up of me putting the key in the ignition. All right. So the endpoint here is at 8:21. 8:21 on your script, 8:21. Boom. And you can see the key is just coming into frame. So mark in, and your out key, your out point is 11:22. 11:22. Hit enter. Boom. And my key is going in. Okay. So it's going to be about a 3-second shot. Literally, key goes in, I start turning it, and I'm actually going to edit and get out before I even pull the key out. So I'm cutting on that turn, right? So in point again, 8:21, right? Go to out point 11:22. It's a 3-second shot, couple frames. Okay, insert, keys insert. So my playhead is sitting at the end of my last clip. Hit insert, boom, it drops in. Okay, playhead repositions. Okay. Now let's go to the next shot. Let's get at least through the first page, right? All right. So we've got about 8 more clips to go, barely. Okay. Next shot. Now, okay, so here's an example of what I just mentioned. We're going to go back to a clip we edited a minute ago, but we're going to mark a different in and out. So we're going to reset those in and out points. And this is enter Volvo, right? We're going to go back into enter Volvo now. So I know nobody had a chance to print this or anything, but just this is where you want to start being careful and keeping track of what clip you're actually on. So this is clip 8. Okay, so if you need to like write down a note on a piece of paper or have a little list going in your phone, wherever you can, reference yourself, so you don't go back and thinking that you need to do the time code for enter Volvo, which is clip 6, right? So this is only literally like we've did the insert. Now we're going back to that other shot. Okay, so clip 8. Now we're going to come in at 54:12 and out at 57. Okay, right? So boom, share screen, go back. Now I can go back and find enter Volvo here, or I can also do this. Right? Once you've dropped these clips, let me see, hang on a second. Yeah, if you right click, you see where it says source keys insert, right? Showing, because it always identifies the clip you're working on. If you right click here, now this is a right click, right? Remember, unless I say right click, it's always a standard left click. If you right click, it gives you a list of, I think, pretty much everything we've already edited. I don't know how many it will hold as we go to like 20, 30, but it keeps a good amount of the recent clips that you accessed. So this is also a nice little shortcut. Okay, well, there's Intervolvo. Instead of me having to go here and go, I got to find that again, I just used it. So there it is, right? So this is where Premiere is very smart, very intuitive. I think it's once you understand the interface and again, this is a right click, so it's kind of like this is embedded menu. It really is, I think, very user friendly. So here we go. Let's go back to Intervolvo. Great, there it is. Now give it a second. There it is. Now it's going to still have the previous in and out points that you did, right? Right, because you brought the new clip and you started editing. But now you can just reset it. Don't worry about it. Okay, now we're going to Intervolvo clip 8. Let's just take a look at the script again to drive that home, right? This is clip 8. We want 5412 for the in point. We want 57 even for the out, okay? Which is not where it's currently marked because now this is later in time. So click on the time code, look at your script. It's 5412. See, I just click, I highlight blue, 5412. Okay, you don't have to do this. You don't have to like sit here and like wipe it out. Just type it in. 5412, enter, right? And you can see my key's already in. Now hit mark in again, it will reset that endpoint, right? Boom. See, so you're not locked in. Now you've reset your endpoint, and it's probably thinking, okay, well, the out point's up because this endpoint's after the previous out point. We're resetting. That's fine. So there's your in. The out on this is 57. Right? So 5412, click on here and hit 57. Right? Enter. Boom. Right? There's your out. Mark it. Okay. Again, 2.5 seconds. Right? I literally took the action of me just literally putting the key in and out with 2 shots. And I'm about to grab the parking brake or whatever, pull the the stick shift, whatever you call it. All right, so you're in here 5412, you're out 57, right? You're positioned beyond keys insert at the end of that clip. Next shot, boom. Okay, so let's take a look at that real quick, right? So that gives us the first 8 shots. Okay, so let's play that through for a minute. I'm just going to go back to the beginning, do a quick save, and let's play this through. All right, so you can see the action, how it flows. Also, pay attention, and we talked a little bit about this last week. We talked about continuity, which is essentially shot flow, but also look at each shot and how everything, all the action matches. Okay, again, freebie production stuff, but and I'm sort of kidding because this is also editing, right? As an editor, you need to understand this type of action. It's part of what you need to understand. There's a lot of things to understand, but when you're editing this type of action, it's not like documentary, it's not like a news piece, some sort of instructional thing, which also can come in handy. It's good to develop and understand that type of continuity and how things need to match hands, positions, etc. This is a very important part of editing, and this is kind of like that aesthetic part, right? So we're learning how to actually execute these edits in Premiere, mark the in and out, work at the time code, blah, blah, blah. But also we have to look at what we're doing and pay attention because it's our job to make sure it looks good. Okay, it's not someone else's job. Yes, a producer working with you, that's another set of eyes, right? But as an editor, you need to be the most critical viewer of your work when you're editing it. Okay, more on that later. All right, so let's take a look at some of this match stuff, right? So here I come, first shot, left, keys are in my left hand. As I enter the next shot, keys are in my left hand. I go to the door, right? I unlock it supposedly, and then I am opening actually with my left hand. Keys are still in my right. On the exterior shot, as you can see, I'm opening the door with my left hand. Keys are still in my right. There I go. I walk into frame. Boom. Right? Keys are still in my hand. Realize that there could be like 5 minutes between these shots being even recorded because I have to stop, reposition the camera, and I don't have a camera person. So normally you'd have a camera person who would, be able to make those decisions. But, that could be minutes between these shots, even though when you're watching them here, they're instantaneous, right? But there could be, 5 minutes, sometimes 10, 15 minutes could have elapsed between those two shots, right? You would never be able to tell that, right? Because of the editing and the shooting, right? So now, boom, where am I? I'm coming in, all right? I've got my key in my left hand, and you can see as I'm walking with my back, my hands kind of come together in front of me, right? Now on the reversal, as I'm walking, yep, they're together in my I'm holding them together. And what happens? Yep, I drop the key. The key are still in my right hand. I'm using my left hand to open the door. And on the reversal, what hand am I using? The left. So this is all intentional. Keys are still in my right hand, right? They go in, right hand, go into the ignition, right? Pull it out, it's still my right hand. So all of that is very conscientious and very intentional in terms of the continuity. Okay. All right. So we've done, let's see, I think I said I wanted to get through the first page. Okay, so we'll do a few more. So this was page 8. I'm sorry, page 8, shot 8. How's everybody doing? How's your heads? Some of you may have a little bit of a headache. No, maybe. Okay. All right. And I'm going to show you some things after we stop before we get into some of the other stuff I want to look at of how you can, if you think you made a mistake or you want to double check, here's ways you can fix things. You can also make copies of your sequence. Okay. There's a lot of great stuff here. Okay. The beauty of nonlinear editing, computer editing is that it's designed to be very flexible. Okay. All right. So anyway, let's go ahead and just at least get through this first page. So our next shot, this was enter Volvo 8 Volvo pullout. Okay, new shot, right? So this is now the Volvo backing up, right? Okay, so let's go Volvo pullout. I'm just going to type in Volvo. There's going to be a few clips because there's a lot of Volvo clips. Okay, there we go. Volvo pullout, right? I typed in Volvo pullout. Double click. Right? This is a low angle of the car pulling out. So, right, and you can see I'm getting in, boom, and it just pulls out. Okay? All right, so this is clip number 9. Clip number 9, Volvo pullout. I should have numbered them, but maybe in the future I will. All right, so the endpoint here is Volvo pullout endpoint is 2208. The out is 2406. Again, you can see that there's a pretty consistent rhythm to this editing, to these shots. 2, 3, maybe 4 seconds. Okay, because I'm just trying to like get this going. Okay, I know it's not a high-speed car chase with explosions, but it's the best we could do. So endpoint here, Volvo pullout is 2208, right? 2208. Oops. Fat finger that one, 2208. Yeah, always double check your time code, enter, boom. And you can see I'm about to like pull out. So I've already turned the car on, so the headlights need to be on. I'm literally like cutting just as the car starts pulling back. 2208, the out here, right, is going to be 2408. 2408, oh, 2406, but whatever. It wouldn't have been the end of the world. 2406, hit enter, right? And mark your out point. So again, barely 2 seconds, right? Insert, drop it in, right? All right, save, playhead got repositioned, right? So we're ready for the next edit. Next edit is I'm going to move a little quicker through these to get us to the end of the page because I want to cover some things before we get out of here at 8. So that was 9. Clip 10. All right, we got 5 more clips to get through page 1. 10, Volvo reverse, right? So again, that's probably already up here because we had Volvo. Yep, there it is, Volvo reverse. When I typed in Volvo, it came up. If you didn't type in Volvo, then you just have to find it. Volvo reverse, it's in batch 2. Okay, there it is. Double click, and it's just literally the reverse angle of the car pulling out. You see? So I was in front of the car, now I'm behind the car. Okay. And Volvo reverse, the endpoint here is 39. You can see this is a pretty long clip. This is a minute long, right? Because I set the camera up and then I have to walk all the way back to the car, get in and drive back and hopefully get it right, right? There you go. Okay, so endpoint here is Volvo reverse 3910. 3910. Enter. Mark in. Mark out. Out point is 4115. 4115. Enter. Right. Mark out. Again, 2 seconds. So I don't even let it really completely pull out of frame, but I'm about to. Right. All right. So endpoint 3910. Out point 4110. Hit insert. Boom. It drops in. Okay. Save. Control S. Command S. Now we'll go back to clip 11, which is a new one, driver 1. Okay, and here the last 4 clips are comprised of the 2 clips, but we go into them twice, driver 1 and car 1. So this is clip 11, which is driver 1. Let me see, I'm just going to dig around here. Driver 3, this is probably in batch 1. Driver 1, there it is, driver 1, right? This is in batch 1. Driver 1, and this is a shot of me driving, I'm getting ready, pulling out, etc. Okay, lots of overlap. Okay, the endpoint here is driver 1 is 1204. 1204. It's just literally a shot of me driving. Mark in, and the out is 1411. Then grab. See, if it doesn't grab, you just got to grab it. And don't worry if your little playhead moves. As long as you got your endpoint marked, it's good, right? It's going to hold it. The playhead moving is not going to affect your endpoint if you've already marked it. 1411 out. Okay. Mark out. It looks really tiny because this is a long clip, so that looks small. So it's still 2 seconds. Insert. Okay. So we've gone from reversal. Now we went to an interior shot of me driving, kind of looking back, making sure I don't hit a tree or, run over the neighbor's animals or something. All right. That was clip 11. See, and you don't want to get confused. Now we're going to 12, car 1. Car 1. Here's car 1 right here in the same folder. Car 1. And it's now a different shot as I'm pulling into this sort of turnaround. Okay. And then I drive out. Right. And so that's going to overlap. Okay. So the endpoint here is this is car 1, number 12. Let me make sure everybody knows that we're looking at the right clip here. Right. This is car 1. Right. 3314, 3520 out. Okay. Car 1. Car 1. 3314. 3314. Enter. There it is. I'm just coming into frame, just entering the frame right there. Mark in. Out is 3520. Again, pretty much 2 seconds. 3520. Enter. Mark out. Okay. Right. So I'm pulling in. Hit insert. Boom. Okay. Add that down there. Playhead repositions. Save. Next shot. 13. Now we're going back to driver 1, right? Now we're going back to driver 1. And so, paying attention, making sure we know we're on the right driver 1, right? There's 13, right? And you can see 20, 22, whereas before we were at 12 and 14. So this is about 6 seconds later on that same clip, right? right? So go here, let's go back in, and let's go ahead and use this little recall, right? This little recent history kind of thing, right? Right, boom. And actually, I didn't even have to do a right click. I just did a regular click, so I kind of lied on that one. Driver one, right? We're going back to driver one. It was the last flip we used, driver one, boom, there it is. There's the previous in and outs, but we're going to change that. Now your endpoint's going to be 2006. Boom, right? Playhead moves to 2006, mark I, reset that endpoint. Okay. The out is 2207. 2207. Okay, just me kind of like looking, mark out 2207. Okay, there it is. Let's drop it in. Right, so exterior, interior, right? Outside the car, back in the car. All right, and now I'm going back to car one and one more driver one to finish the first page. Right, so now we're going back to car one. I'm sorry, car one. Yes. Yeah, I'm even getting confused. Car one, right? Because that was the 12th shot. No, I'm sorry. That was the 13th shot. That was driver one. So now we're going to 14. Okay. So we're going to the 14th shot, right? That was driver one pulling back into that turnaround. Car one. Okay. And there's car one. Okay. And this is going to be now 3811. We're going to go 3811, enter. Reset that endpoint. The out's going to be 3919. 3919 out, right? It jumps, mark your out. And that's like very quick shot. That's like 1 second shot. Okay, right? Hit insert. So that's a very quick cut, we would say, right? So, going back, now he's in. Now we're going to go to inside the car one more time to finish page one, driver one, right? Driver one, right? There it is. Driver one. 2504, 2909. This is about 3 or 4 seconds later. Driver one. Okay. Right. So we go back into driver one, which I think I already pulled up. Yep, there's driver one. And our endpoint here is going to be 2504. Enter. Mark in. Out point is going to be 2929. Okay. And mark out. Okay. This is the Vin Diesel shot. Yes. Me and Vin go back a ways. So this is about almost a 5 second shot. So a longer shot. Drop it in, bam. Okay, you can see it's kind of like pushing off there. If I want to see all of those, I'm going to click in my timeline. I'm going to hit that backslash key. Boom. Now I can fit them all in there. All right. So this is the first page of my script, right? Just as I'm about to pull out of the driveway, right? Let's go ahead and play it back for a minute. Just kind of this little section. Okay. So as I'm pulling out, so we cut back. Put the glasses on and we're about to pull out. Okay. All right. So the duration at that point, or what we would call the runtime, right now, if you executed those edits according to the script, you should be at 41 seconds and 3 frames over here on the left. If you're within, 5 frames, I would consider it a win. You're pretty close. You could be off a frame here or there, or you could be off 5 frames on one edit, which may or may not, make a big difference depending on the action. But if you're off a frame here, off a frame there, probably won't really be noticed that much. Okay, I might because I've edited this thing 100 times. Okay, so that's basically what you do on project one. Okay, and you're going to continue with that second page, and you're going to continue just doing the exact same thing you were doing, right? You can see you've got maybe another car one, and then you start going to like car two, car three, then you have car OSS that stands for over the shoulder shot. Then you get into driver two, right? But you can see you have a couple car OSS, right? So be mindful of that. You know, if you're not going to continue doing this tonight and you have a chance maybe to print this out, then you can, X off the shot once you've done it. It's a great way to do it too. So you don't make those mistakes. I've done that before. And then you get into these road shots, road one, road two. These are different clips, right? Right. Um, Here you got another road two. So you can see, and here's another car OSS one. So there's like 3 edits in that clip. And you can see that they're all different time codes, right? That one's at like 28 seconds, 51 seconds. Okay. This one's here like at a minute almost 2. So this is like a pretty long clip because this is just driving down the road, right? And then this is a shot of the CD music in the car and the final shot. Okay. So I think that's it. Are there any other questions on anything? Yep. So I'm already starting to get sales. That's good. Get some people texting me. Everybody clear on what we're trying to do for next week? Again, if you're not, remember, you can always contact me, email me, and of course, if you text me, then I can put you in the chat group and we can communicate a little bit more quickly. Sometimes if I don't respond right away, might be because I'm busy at work, and the news business is very demanding depending on the time of day. So sometimes all day.